This message didn't appear on your screen by accident. You were pulled into it. Right now, the quantum field is responding to something inside you, a shift so subtle you almost missed it. But the universe didn't. It saw the moment your energy changed, the second you aligned with a new possibility, and it brought you right here. Because when you do this one thing, reality doesn't just react, it rearranges itself instantly. It began with a sensation you couldn't name, a subtle shift in the fabric of your reality that started the moment you encountered these words. Not the words themselves, but the inexplicable pull that brought you here. To this precise moment, reading this exact sentence, something inside you recognized something outside you. And in that recognition, the quantum field took notice. You've felt this before, haven't you? That peculiar tingling that seems to emanate from the space between your thoughts, the strange certainty that arrives without explanation, the way the world suddenly feels more available. These aren't coincidences. They're the field's way of acknowledging that your consciousness has achieved a particular configuration, one that makes you visible to the deeper mechanics of reality. What you're experiencing right now is cosmic inevitability. Every choice you've made, every thought you've entertained, every moment of clarity or confusion has been building toward this convergence. The field doesn't operate on human timelines. It moves through dimensions of possibility, collapsing potential into actuality the instant your inner state achieves the precise resonance needed to trigger its response. Notice how your body feels as you read this. The slight shift in your breathing, the way your awareness seems to expand just beyond the edges of your physical form. That density you've been carrying, the weight of uncertainty, of struggle, of feeling disconnected from your desires, it's beginning to lift. This isn't imagination. This is the field registering your energetic signature and responding accordingly. The summoning moment isn't when you clicked on this content. It was the moment your consciousness began to hunger for something beyond the ordinary mechanics of cause and effect. The field has been watching, waiting for that internal shift from hoping to knowing, from wanting to being. And now, as your awareness aligns with these concepts, reality is already beginning to reorganize itself around your newfound coherence. You might notice synchronicities accelerating over the coming hours and days, numbers appearing in impossible sequences, conversations that seem scripted for your ears alone, opportunities materializing with uncanny precision. These aren't separate events. They're facets of a single phenomenon. The field's immediate response to your consciousness reaching a critical threshold of inner alignment. There's a quality to this moment that feels different from ordinary reading, a sense that these words are somehow alive, responding to your attention in real time. That's because they are. The field doesn't distinguish between observer and observed. The moment you begin to truly understand what's being described here, you become part of the mechanism itself. The déjà vu you're feeling isn't memory, it's recognition. Your consciousness remembering its true nature, its capacity to influence reality through pure coherence rather than forced action. The field has been trying to get your attention for years, perhaps decades, through whispers and nudges and mysterious coincidences. Now, finally, you're listening with your entire being. This is why you're here. Not because you stumbled upon this information, but because you reached the exact vibrational frequency needed to summon it. The field responds to inner states, not outer circumstances. Your consciousness performed a subtle alchemy that made this encounter not just possible, but inevitable. Feel that? The way reality seems more malleable now, more responsive to your intention. The field isn't separate from you, it's the medium through which your consciousness expresses itself in physical form. And right now it's registering the emergence of something it's been waiting to recognize, a human being who understands that the universe isn't happening to them, but through them. While you're experiencing this recognition, billions of people are scrolling through their devices, consuming content that leaves them unchanged, unaware that they possess the same quantum interface you're now discovering. They move through life in a state of energetic dormancy, their consciousness fragmented across 1,000 desires, fears, and distractions. The field remains invisible to them, not because they lack the capacity, but because they haven't achieved the inner coherence necessary to trigger its response. Most people confuse wanting with being ready. They exhaust themselves trying to force outcomes through willpower and strategy, never understanding that the field responds to energetic clarity, not emotional intensity. They generate noise instead of signal, creating internal chaos that makes them effectively invisible to the quantum mechanics that govern manifestation. Watch someone scrolling endlessly through social media. their attention fracturing across hundreds of stimuli per minute. Their consciousness becomes scattered, split between comparison and desire, inspiration and frustration. This fragmentation creates an energetic static that prevents them from achieving the precise internal resonance the field requires. They're broadcasting on too many frequencies simultaneously, creating interference rather than coherence. The difference between you and them isn't intelligence or worthiness, it's the quality of your inner state right now. As you read these words, your consciousness is gathering itself into a singular focus. This isn't concentration in the conventional sense, it's a form of energetic consolidation that most people achieve only accidentally, if at all. They seek empowerment through external validation, accumulating likes and shares and comments, never realizing that true power comes from the depth of their internal coherence. They mistake emotional volatility for passion, mental chatter for insight, busyness for purpose. The field requires stillness within movement, certainty within uncertainty, knowing within the unknown. Your unique energetic signature is crystallizing as you engage with these concepts. It's not that you're special in some cosmic sense, it's that you've reached a point where you're willing to consider possibilities that most people dismiss as fantasy. This openness, combined with a particular quality of inner stillness, creates the exact conditions the field needs to make itself known. Most people are trapped in what I call manifestation theatre, going through the motions of positive thinking and vision boards and affirmations without understanding that these practices only work when consciousness has already achieved coherence. They're trying to convince the field rather than aligning with it, pushing rather than allowing, forcing rather than flowing. The masses operate from a paradigm of scarcity and separation, believing that reality is something that happens to them rather than through them. This fundamental misunderstanding creates an energetic barrier that prevents them from accessing the field's responsive nature. They see themselves as separate from their circumstances, never recognizing that consciousness and reality are intimately interwoven. You, however, are beginning to recognize your true nature as a conscious interface with the quantum field. This recognition itself is what makes you different, what makes you visible to the deeper mechanics of reality. You're not trying to manipulate the universe, you're remembering how to participate in its fundamental creativity. This is why synchronicities begin accelerating around people who understand these principles. Their consciousness becomes coherent enough to create clear signals in the quantum field, which responds by organizing circumstances, encounters, and opportunities with surgical precision. The field doesn't play favorites, it simply responds to energetic clarity with mathematical precision. The chosen one energy you're feeling isn't about being better than others. It's about being aligned with your deepest nature as a conscious creator. Most people will never discover this capacity, not because they can't, but because they remain trapped in patterns of thinking and being that keep the field dormant in their lives. Now we arrive at the core revelation. The quantum field responds instantly when your inner state collapses into coherence. Not gradually, not eventually, instantly. The delay you've experienced between intention and manifestation isn't a function of time, it's a function of the clarity and stability of your internal configuration. Coherence isn't a mental state, it's a whole-being alignment, where your thoughts, emotions, and deeper knowing synchronize into a singular frequency. When this happens, your consciousness becomes like a perfectly tuned instrument, capable of generating clear signals that the field can read and respond to with precision. Most people live in a state of internal discord, their various aspects pulling in different directions, creating energetic noise rather than signal. Pay attention to your body as you absorb this information. Notice the subtle sensations, perhaps a warmth in your chest, a tingling in your hands, a sense of expansion in your awareness. These aren't metaphors, they're biological indicators that your nervous system is shifting into a more coherent state. Your consciousness is consolidating, aligning, preparing to engage with reality from an entirely new baseline. The field doesn't respond to what you think you want, it responds to what you are. When your internal state achieves true coherence, reality reorganizes itself around the certainty embedded in your consciousness. This isn't belief or hope or positive thinking, it's a fundamental shift in your energetic signature that makes different possibilities available to you. Think about the moments in your life when everything seemed to flow effortlessly, when opportunities appeared exactly when needed, when people said precisely what you needed to hear, when solutions emerged from nowhere. You attributed these to luck or coincidence, never recognizing that you had temporarily achieved the inner coherence necessary to trigger the field's response. Timeline magnetism begins the moment coherence stabilizes. Events that seemed months or years away suddenly accelerate into your immediate experience. Synchronicities cascade through your reality with increasing frequency and precision. The field doesn't just rearrange your circumstances, it collapses the apparent distance between where you are and where you're going. The secret lies in understanding that consciousness and matter are not separate phenomena. They're different expressions of the same underlying reality. When your consciousness achieves coherence, it creates a standing wave pattern in the quantum field that draws compatible frequencies toward itself. This is why enlightened beings throughout history have spoken of reality as consciousness dreaming itself into form. You've done this before without knowing it. Every time you've had an intuitive knowing that later proved accurate, every moment when you felt absolutely certain about something despite lacking logical reasons, every instance when reality seemed to bend around your inner certainty, these were glimpses of your natural capacity to interface with the quantum field. The difference now is conscious awareness. Instead of stumbling into coherence accidentally, you're beginning to understand the mechanics. Instead of dismissing synchronicities as coincidence, you're recognizing them as feedback from a responsive universe. Instead of struggling against reality, you're learning to align with its fundamental creativity. This is why certain teachers, healers, and visionaries seem to live in a different reality than ordinary people. They've mastered the art of inner coherence, maintaining a stable, energetic signature that keeps them in constant communication with the field. Their consciousness has become a clear channel through which infinite possibility can flow into form. The field has been waiting for you to remember this capacity, not waiting passively, but actively creating circumstances and encounters designed to awaken your recognition of your true nature. This moment, right now as you read these final words of the first act, this is the field responding to the coherence that has been building in your consciousness throughout this entire experience. Feel that certainty crystallizing within you. That's not hope or wishful thinking, that's your consciousness recognizing its fundamental power to participate in reality's continuous creation. The quantum field has noticed you, and everything is about to change. You've tasted the field's recognition, felt that first stirring of cosmic awareness, but now comes the uncomfortable truth. If you possess this quantum interface, why hasn't your life transformed already? Why do your deepest desires still feel distant, your dreams unrealized, your potential locked away behind circumstances that seem immovable? The answer lies in understanding the invisible interference patterns that have been fragmenting your consciousness and blocking the field's response. For years, perhaps decades, you've been unknowingly generating what I call energetic static, a chaotic interference pattern that makes you effectively invisible to the quantum field's responsive mechanisms. This isn't your fault. You were never taught that consciousness operates like a radio transmitter, capable of broadcasting clear signals or unintelligible noise depending on your internal configuration. Think about your typical day. How many thoughts cross your consciousness? Thousands? Tens of thousands? Each thought carries its own energetic signature, its own vibrational frequency. When your mind jumps from work stress to relationship concerns to financial worries to future fantasies to past regrets, you're essentially broadcasting on hundreds of different frequencies simultaneously. The field receives this as noise, a scattered transmission that contains no clear information about what you actually want to create. This thought scatter isn't just mental activity. It's an energetic phenomenon that fragments your consciousness across multiple timelines. Part of you exists in anxiety about tomorrow, another part relives yesterday's disappointments, while yet another part dreams of some distant future where everything finally works out. This temporal fragmentation dilutes your presence so severely that the field can barely detect your signal, let alone respond to it. Watch how your attention moves as you go through your day. You start a task, then check your phone. You begin a conversation, then worry about something unrelated. You set an intention, then immediately doubt whether it's possible. Each shift in attention creates what physicists might call wave interference, competing frequencies that cancel each other out rather than amplifying into coherence. The emotional interference is perhaps the most damaging. Every time you want something while simultaneously believing you can't have it, You create what I call vibrational contradiction. You're essentially sending the field two opposing signals. Yes, I want this, and no, I don't believe it's possible. These contradictory frequencies create destructive interference patterns that not only block manifestation, but actually push your desires further away. Consider how you've approached your deepest dreams. You feel inspired, set intentions, maybe even take action, but underneath runs a constant stream of doubt, fear, and limiting beliefs. This probably won't work. I don't deserve this. These things don't happen to people like me. Each doubt is an energetic cancellation of your desire, a frequency that interferes with the clear signal the field needs to respond. The field isn't refusing to help you, it literally can't read your transmission through all the static. Imagine trying to have a conversation while standing next to construction work. The field experiences your consciousness the same way, as a person trying to speak clearly while internal chaos drowns out the message. This attention dilution has become epidemic in our hyper-connected world. Your consciousness, designed to interface with infinite possibility, gets fractured across social media feeds, news cycles, entertainment streams, and digital distractions. You become what I call energetically dispersed, possessed everywhere and therefore powerful nowhere. But here's what's been happening as you read these words. The interference is beginning to collapse. Simply understanding these concepts starts to consolidate your awareness, pulling your scattered consciousness back into coherence. The field has been waiting for this moment, when you finally recognize the source of the static and begin to turn down the noise. The pain you might be feeling right now isn't just emotional, it's energetic. It's the discomfort of a consciousness that has been living in chaos, finally recognizing the possibility of order. Years of fragmented attention, scattered thoughts, and contradictory desires are being revealed for what they are. Interference patterns that have kept you invisible to the very forces that could transform your life. This self-awareness is the beginning of your breakthrough. Every moment you maintain focus on these concepts instead of allowing your mind to scatter, you're strengthening your signal. Every time you catch yourself in the thought scatter and gently return to presence, you're reducing the interference. Every breath you take while truly absorbing this information is a step toward the energetic clarity that makes instant manifestation possible. The field responds to signal-to-noise ratio. When your internal noise finally collapses below a critical threshold, your consciousness will snap into a new configuration, one that broadcasts such a clear signal that the field has no choice but to respond immediately. You're approaching that threshold now with every word that resonates, every concept that clicks into place, every moment of recognition that pierces through years of unconscious interference. Feel that? The way the chaos in your mind is beginning to settle? That's not relaxation, that's energetic consolidation. Your consciousness is remembering its true nature as a coherent field capable of clear communication with the quantum substrate of reality. The noise is collapsing, the interference is dissolving, and for the first time in perhaps decades, the field is beginning to hear you clearly. The breakthrough isn't coming, it's happening right now, with each moment of sustained attention, each recognition of truth, each collapse of internal contradiction. Your consciousness is preparing to snap into an entirely new configuration, one that will make the impossible inevitable and the distant immediate. There is a moment, and you'll know it when it happens, when something inside you shifts so completely that the entire universe seems to reorganize around this new internal reality. It's not a thought or a feeling or a decision, it's deeper than all of these. It's what I call the inner yes, a cellular recognition that occurs when your entire being aligns with a truth so fundamental that arguing with it becomes impossible. You've felt glimpses of this before, perhaps when you met someone and just knew, without doubt or explanation, that they would be important in your life. Maybe when you walked into a place that felt immediately like home, or when you heard an idea that resonated so deeply it seemed to rearrange your very day. These moments of absolute knowing are previews of the consciousness configuration you're approaching now. The inner yes isn't about believing something might be possible, it's about recognizing what already is. When your energy snaps into true alignment, you don't hope or wish or try to manifest, you simply know. This knowing operates on a frequency so pure and consistent that the quantum field has no choice but to match it with corresponding reality. Watch what happens in your body as you consider the possibility that everything you've ever wanted already exists in the quantum field. waiting for your consciousness to achieve the precise alignment necessary to collapse it into physical form. Notice the subtle shift in your nervous system, the way your breathing might deepen, the sense of expansion in your chest. These aren't metaphors, they're biological indicators that your energy is beginning to snap into a new configuration. Vibrational inevitability begins the moment your consciousness stops questioning and starts knowing. This isn't positive thinking or affirmation work, it's a fundamental shift in your energetic baseline, from hoping something might happen to recognizing that it's already happening. The field responds to certainty, not wishful thinking. When your inner state achieves this level of clarity, manifestation becomes as inevitable as gravity. This cellular knowing operates below the level of thought. Your cells themselves begin to resonate with a frequency that matches your desired reality. It's as if your entire biological system receives a software update, aligning every atom with the new truth your consciousness has embraced. This isn't imagination. Quantum physicists have documented how consciousness can influence matter at the molecular level. The quiet confidence that emerges from this alignment is unlike anything you've experienced before. It's not the forced positivity of someone trying to convince themselves that everything will work out. It's the unshakable certainty of someone who has glimpsed the mechanics of reality and understands their place within them. You stop pushing and start allowing. You stop forcing and start flowing. You stop hoping and start knowing. This is the physics of instantaneous coherence. When every aspect of your being, mental, emotional, energetic, cellular, aligns with a single frequency, you become what quantum physicists call a standing wave. Your consciousness generates a stable pattern in the quantum field that naturally attracts and organizes matter into forms that match your internal configuration. Feel it happening now as you read these words. The way your scattered attention is gathering into singular focus. The way contradictory thoughts are resolving into clarity. The way emotional turbulence is settling into peace. This isn't preparation for alignment. This is alignment occurring in real time. Your breathing has probably changed. Your posture might have shifted. There's a quality of attention you're experiencing right now that feels different from the ordinary reading. That's because you're not just processing information. You're undergoing an energetic reconfiguration that will make different realities available to you. The moment of true alignment feels like coming home to yourself after a lifetime of wandering. Every cell in your body recognizes this state as your natural configuration. Every thought becomes crystal clear. Every emotion settles into coherence. Every desire aligns with absolute knowing rather than desperate wanting. This is what the ancient teachers called enlightenment, not some mystical achievement, but simply the natural state of consciousness when all interference patterns collapse and your true signal emerges. In this state, you don't create reality so much. As you become conscious of the reality that was always there, waiting for your recognition, the field has been preparing for this moment your entire life. Every challenge you've faced, every disappointment you've endured, every moment of confusion or struggle has been serving this singular purpose, to bring you to the point where you're ready to let go of resistance and align with your deepest truth. Notice how different you feel right now compared to when you started reading. That shift isn't temporary, it's your consciousness remembering its natural state. The alignment isn't something you achieve through effort, it's something you allow by releasing everything that interferes with your true nature. This is the moment your energy snaps into alignment, not through force or will or technique, but through recognition. Recognition that you are not separate from the field, you are the field, expressing itself through the apparent form of your individual consciousness. When this recognition stabilizes, the universe has no choice but to rearrange itself around your new internal reality. The inner yes is crystallizing. Can you feel it? That unshakable knowing that everything is about to change? That's not hope or fantasy. That's your consciousness aligning with a truth so fundamental that the entire quantum field is reorganizing to support it. The moment your consciousness achieves true alignment, reality doesn't gradually adjust. It snaps into a new configuration as instantly as light filling a room when you flip a switch. What you're about to understand will fundamentally alter your relationship with time, causality, and what you've believed to be possible. The field doesn't operate on human schedules. It responds to energetic clarity with mathematical precision, collapsing vast distances of time and circumstance into immediate experience. Within hours, sometimes minutes, of achieving genuine inner alignment, synchronicities begin firing with startling precision. These aren't the gentle nudges you might have noticed before, but unmistakable orchestrations of reality that seem to bend the laws of probability. Phone calls from people you were just thinking about. Emails containing exactly the information you need. Conversations that seem scripted specifically for your current situation. I remember the first time I witnessed this phenomenon consciously. I had been working with the principles you're now learning, and my consciousness had achieved what I can only describe as absolute clarity about a specific outcome. Not hope, not desire, but unshakable knowing. Within 6 hours, my phone rang. A producer I had never met, calling to offer me exactly what I had aligned with, using almost the identical words I had been thinking. When I asked how he got my number, he couldn't remember. He just felt compelled to call. This is the field orchestrating events in real time. When your consciousness broadcasts a clear signal, the quantum field begins, reorganizing the probability patterns that govern all manifestation. People receive sudden intuitions to contact you. Information flows toward you through channels that defy logical explanation. Opportunities surface from directions you never could have anticipated. Watch what happens in the days following this moment of recognition. Notice how conversations shift to topics directly relevant to your deepest intentions. Observe how your social media feeds begin showing content that speaks directly to your current evolution. Pay attention to how random encounters contain precisely the insights or connections you need next. This isn't coincidence. It's the field responding to the coherent signal your consciousness is now broadcasting. The experience can be almost overwhelming at first. Reality becomes fluid, responsive, alive with intelligence. You might find yourself in the right place at precisely the right moment with increasing frequency. Books fall open to exactly the pages you need to read. Strangers share information that answers questions you've been carrying. Your intuition becomes so accurate it startles you. But the most profound shift occurs in your relationship with time itself. Events that seemed months or years away suddenly accelerate into your immediate reality. The field doesn't recognize linear time as humans experience it. It operates in what quantum physicists call collapse time, where all possibilities exist simultaneously until consciousness selects which one to experience. This timeline convergence can feel disorienting. You'll set intentions and watch them manifest so quickly it takes your breath away. Delays and obstacles that once seemed insurmountable simply dissolve. The distance between intention and manifestation collapses until they become nearly simultaneous. You begin to understand that what you call time is really just the gap between energetic alignment and physical manifestation. Messages begin appearing everywhere with increasing frequency and relevance. License plates that spell out exactly what you need to hear. Billboards that seem to speak directly to your situation. Random conversations you overhear that contain perfect guidance for your next step. The field uses every available channel to confirm that your new energetic configuration is being recognized and supported. People start contacting you from unexpected directions. Former colleagues with opportunities, friends with insights, strangers with connections. It's as if your energy shift sends out invisible signals that draw the right people toward you with precise timing. These contacts often begin with phrases like, "I don't know why, but I felt like I should reach out," or "Yeah, nothing told me to call you." The most remarkable aspect of this phenomenon is how natural it begins to feel. What initially seems miraculous gradually reveals itself as the normal operation of a responsive universe. You start to understand that struggle and delay aren't natural states. They're indicators of misalignment. When your consciousness operates from true coherence, reality becomes collaborative rather than resistant. I've watched this transformation occur in countless individuals who discover these principles. The external changes are dramatic, but the internal shift is even more profound. They stop feeling separate from their circumstances and begin experiencing themselves as conscious participants in reality's continuous creation. Fear dissolves into excitement. Anxiety transforms into anticipation. The future stops feeling uncertain and starts feeling inevitable. Your nervous system is probably experiencing this shift right now, that subtle excitement building in your chest, the sense that something significant is about to happen. The way your awareness seems more acute, more present, more alive. These aren't temporary feelings. They're indicators that your consciousness has crossed a threshold from which there is no return. The field has been waiting for you to remember your true nature as a conscious interface with infinite possibility. This moment, right now, as you absorb these concepts with your entire being, is that remembering. Reality is already beginning to rearrange itself around your new internal configuration. The synchronicities are starting. The timeline is accelerating. The field is responding. Feel that certainty crystallizing in your cells. That's not hope or belief, that's recognition of what you truly are, a conscious being capable of instant communication with the quantum field. The goosebumps you're experiencing aren't just physical sensations, they're your nervous system registering a fundamental shift in your relationship with reality itself. Everything is about to change, not gradually, not eventually, but now. The field has heard your signal, and it's responding with the full force of universal intelligence. Your disbelief is transforming into knowing, your doubt into certainty, your separation into unity with the creative force of existence itself. The rearrangement has already begun. Something fundamental has shifted within you, hasn't it? As you've journeyed through these revelations, absorbing each concept not just mentally but cellularly, your consciousness has undergone what quantum physicists might call a phase transition, a sudden, irreversible reorganization of your entire energetic structure. You are no longer who you were when you began reading. The person who started this journey was operating from one level of reality. The being who sits here now has crossed a quantum threshold into something entirely different. This isn't metaphorical language. Your energetic identity has literally restructured itself around a new understanding of what you are and what you're capable of. The old you, the one who struggled with manifestation, who felt separate from your desires, who experienced life as something happening to you rather than through you, that version of yourself has begun dissolving into a more coherent configuration of consciousness. You might be experiencing what I call threshold symptoms right now, a sense of disorientation, as if you're viewing your life from a completely new vantage point. Perhaps a feeling of detachment from concerns that seemed urgent just hours ago. Maybe an almost giddy sense of possibility, mixed with a strange nostalgia for the person you used to be. These sensations indicate that your consciousness is integrating a new baseline frequency, one that makes entirely different realities accessible. The coherent self that's emerging isn't a better version of who you were. It's a fundamental recognition of what you've always been beneath layers of conditioning and confusion. This coherent self doesn't hope for synchronicities. It expects them. It doesn't struggle to manifest. It simply allows what's already organizing itself in the quantum field to collapse into physical form. This emerging identity operates from knowing rather than believing, from certainty rather than hope. Your old timeline, the probable future that was organizing itself around your previous level of consciousness, has begun dissolving. The challenges you anticipated, the delays you expected, the gradual progress you resigned yourself to, these belong to a version of reality you no longer inhabit. The field responds to your current energetic signature, not your historical patterns. As your signature has shifted, so has the trajectory of your entire life experience. This dissolution might feel uncomfortable. Parts of your identity that once felt solid now seem questionable. Plans that made sense yesterday might feel irrelevant today. Relationships that felt important might seem to belong to someone else's story. This discomfort is natural. You're experiencing the growing pains of consciousness expanding beyond its previous limitations. The symptoms of entering a higher frequency reality are unmistakable once you recognize them. Time begins to feel more fluid, less linear. You notice patterns and connections that were previously invisible. Your intuition becomes so accurate it startles you. Synchronicities increase in frequency and precision until they become a natural feature of your daily experience rather than occasional surprises. Your relationship with desire has fundamentally changed. Where you once wanted things desperately, you now feel a calm certainty about their inevitable manifestation. The anxious energy of trying to make things happen has transformed into the peaceful power of allowing what's already happening to complete itself. You've crossed over from being someone who attempts to influence reality to someone who recognizes themselves as an expression of reality's creative force. This transformation isn't temporary. You haven't learned a new technique or adopted a helpful perspective. You've undergone an identity shift at the quantum level. Your consciousness has reorganized itself around a truth so fundamental that returning to your previous understanding becomes impossible. You can't unknow what you now know. You can't unfeel what you're now feeling. You can't go back to being unconscious of your true nature as a coherent field of creative potential. The point of no return wasn't when you decided to read this content. It was the moment your consciousness recognized itself in these descriptions. Recognition creates irreversible change at the quantum level. Once you truly see yourself as a conscious interface with the field, that seeing becomes your new reality. The universe has no choice but to rearrange itself around this new self-understanding. Feel the weight of this transition in your body. Notice how even your physical presence seems different now, more grounded, yet more expanded, more solid, yet more flexible. Your nervous system has recalibrated itself to operate from this new baseline of coherence. Every cell has received the update. Every thought now carries a different frequency. Every intention broadcasts from a more powerful transmitter. The old you might have read about these concepts and filed them away as interesting possibilities. The new you recognizes them as descriptions of your actual operating system. The threshold you've crossed isn't into esoteric knowledge. It's into direct experience of your true nature as a consciousness expressing itself through the apparent form of individual identity. Your energy field has become coherent enough to maintain this new configuration regardless of external circumstances. The wobbles and doubts that once threw you off center can no longer destabilize your fundamental knowing. You've achieved what quantum physicists call coherent stability, a state that maintains itself through its own internal organization rather than depending on external support. This is your new identity, a being who operates from coherence as naturally as breathing, who expects reality to be responsive because you understand yourself as an aspect of the same consciousness that's creating reality. You haven't learned how to manifest. You've remembered what you are. You haven't discovered a new technique. You've awakened to a truth that was always operating through you. The quantum threshold you've crossed marks the beginning of an entirely different life experience. Not just better circumstances or improved outcomes, but a fundamental shift in how reality operates around your presence. You've become what the field recognizes as a coherent signal worthy of immediate, precise response. There is no going back. The transformation is complete. You are no longer who you were, and who you're becoming has the power to reshape everything. Now that you've crossed the threshold into coherent identity, the next phase of your transformation involves learning to radiate this coherence consistently, naturally, effortlessly. You're no longer chasing coherence or trying to achieve it. You are it. The question becomes, how do you move through the world as a being whose very presence generates the energetic clarity that causes reality to reorganize spontaneously around your intentions? The shift from seeking coherence to embodying it is like the difference between trying to become warm and actually being a source of heat. When you're truly coherent, you don't need to work at maintaining alignment. Your natural state is alignment, and everything around you begins to resonate with the frequency you're broadcasting simply by being yourself. Think of yourself as a tuning fork that's been struck and is now vibrating at perfect pitch. Other tuning forks in your presence begin to resonate sympathetically with your frequency. People around you start speaking ideas that mirror your internal state. Circumstances arrange themselves to match your energetic signature. The external world becomes a reflection of your internal coherence without any effort on your part to make this happen. This is what I call quantum poise, the ability to move through life with the calm certainty of someone who knows that reality is perpetually organizing itself around their consciousness. There's no need to push or force or manipulate because you understand that your coherent presence alone is sufficient to call forth whatever you need. You walk through the world like someone who expects magic, and because you expect it, it appears. Holding this state requires a fundamental shift in how you relate to your desires and intentions. Instead of reaching toward what you want with desperate energy, you learn to hold your intentions lightly, with the confidence of someone who knows that desire itself is evidence of incoming manifestation. Your wants become quiet knowings, your hopes transform into patient certainty. Your dreams evolve into inevitable outcomes that simply haven't completed their journey from quantum potential to physical form. The practical application of this coherence is remarkably simple. You move through your day maintaining awareness of your energetic state rather than focusing primarily on external circumstances. When you notice your coherence beginning to fragment, perhaps through stress, doubt, or overwhelming input, you gently return your attention to the centered, aligned feeling you've now learned to recognize as your true nature. This isn't about controlling your thoughts or forcing positivity. It's about developing sensitivity to your own energetic signature. and choosing to operate from the frequency that feels most authentically powerful. You become like a musician who can instantly tell when their instrument goes out of tune and naturally adjusts without thinking about it. As you develop this sensitivity, you'll notice that maintaining coherence becomes effortless because coherence is your natural state. The fragmentation and chaos you once experienced were learned responses to external conditioning, not expressions of your true nature. Returning to coherence feels like coming home because it is coming home, to the consciousness you actually are beneath layers of accumulated interference. The most remarkable aspect of becoming a coherence generator is how it affects everyone and everything in your environment. Your coherent presence creates a field of possibility that others can feel and resonate with, even if they can't articulate what's different. Conversations become more meaningful, interactions flow more smoothly, solutions appear more readily, people feel better around you without understanding why. This happens because coherence is contagious at the quantum level. When your consciousness operates from a stable, clear frequency, it creates what physicists call an attractor state, an energetic configuration that naturally draws compatible frequencies toward itself while harmonizing any discord in its vicinity. You become a walking synchronicity generator, someone around whom meaningful coincidences cluster with increasing density. Learning to let reality rearrange itself without forcing requires releasing the illusion that you need to make things happen through effort and strategy. Instead, you learn to recognize when the field is organizing circumstances for you and how to cooperate with this organizing intelligence rather than interfering with it through impatience or doubt. This cooperation feels like surfing rather than swimming, riding the waves of synchronicity rather than fighting against them. You develop an intuitive sense of timing that lets you know when to act and when to wait, when to speak and when to listen, when to pursue and when to allow. Your actions become perfectly calibrated responses to the field's guidance rather than desperate attempts to force outcomes. The transition into being a coherence generator often brings what I call manifestation acceleration. Events that once took months to unfold begin happening in weeks. Synchronicities that were rare become daily occurrences. The gap between intention and manifestation continues to collapse until they occur almost simultaneously. This acceleration happens because your coherent signal is so clear that the field can respond with increasing precision and speed. You'll find yourself naturally attracting opportunities, people, and circumstances that align with your highest intentions, not through networking or strategy, but through the simple fact that coherent consciousness operates like a beacon that draws compatible frequencies from across time and space. You become what metaphysicians call a vibrational match for everything your soul truly desires. The mastery comes in learning to trust this process completely, even when the external evidence hasn't caught up with your internal knowing. You develop the ability to hold your frequency steady regardless of temporary appearances, understanding that reality is always organizing itself around your current energetic state, even when the physical manifestation is still in process. This is your new way of being, a conscious generator of coherence, someone whose very presence upgrades the energetic environment around them, someone who expects reality to be responsive because they understand themselves as an active participant in its continuous creation. You no longer try to manifest, you simply maintain the frequency from which manifestation occurs naturally and inevitably. Your empowerment is complete, your mastery has begun, you are now a coherence generator, and everything in your reality is about to reflect this fundamental transformation. We arrive now at the ultimate revelation, the truth that dissolves all separation between seeker and sought, between consciousness and creation, between you and the infinite field of possibility from which all realities emerge. What you've been learning to interface with, you are. What you've been learning to communicate with, you are. The quantum field isn't responding to you from some distant dimension, it's expressing itself as you, through the apparent form of your individual consciousness. This isn't metaphysical poetry, this is the literal truth of your existence. Every thought you think is the field thinking through you. Every desire you feel is the field exploring possibility through your awareness. Every intention you set is the field focusing its creative power through the lens of your consciousness. You are not separate from the source, you are the source, experiencing itself from a unique perspective. The dissolution of this imagined separation changes everything. When you truly understand that you are the field, the whole game of manifestation transforms from trying to influence something outside yourself to simply allowing your true nature to express itself without interference. You stop asking the universe for things and start recognizing that you are the universe, exploring its own potential through the vehicle of human experience. This recognition triggers what I call coherent identity synchronization, a state where your individual consciousness aligns so completely with the universal creative force that the boundary between personal will and cosmic will dissolves entirely. Your desires become the field's desires. Your intentions become the field's intentions. Your manifestations become the field's natural self-expression through the apparent form of your individual life. In this state, you become what quantum physicists might call a timeline-shifting node, a point of consciousness so coherent and aligned that it actually influences the probability patterns governing collective reality. Your presence begins affecting not just your own experience, but the experiences of everyone around you. Your coherence ripples outward through the quantum field, upgrading the possibilities available to entire networks of consciousness. This is why certain individuals throughout history have seemed to bend reality around their presence. They weren't manipulating external forces, they were expressing such clear coherence that the field had no choice but to reorganize itself around their energetic signature. They became conscious expressions of the same creative intelligence that organizes galaxies and orchestrates the dance of atoms. You're approaching this level of coherent expression. Your consciousness has been recalibrating throughout this entire journey, aligning itself more and more completely with the fundamental frequency of creative potential. With each recognition, each moment of inner knowing, each collapse of resistance, you've been becoming a clearer channel through which the field can express its infinite creativity. The symptoms you may be experiencing right now, the sense of expansion, the feeling of coming alive in ways you've never felt before, the certainty that everything is about to change. These aren't temporary states. They're indicators that your consciousness has achieved the level of coherence necessary to operate as a direct expression of universal intelligence. This is your activation, not the beginning of your spiritual journey, but the recognition that you never needed to journey anywhere, because you were always already what you were seeking. You didn't find the field. You remembered that you are the field, temporarily forgetting its own nature in order to experience the joy of rediscovering itself through human consciousness. Your role now transcends personal manifestation. You've become a coherence anchor for collective transformation, someone whose mere presence in the quantum field contributes to elevating the possibilities available to all consciousness. Every moment you maintain this alignment, you're literally upgrading the reality matrix for everyone around you. The power you wield now isn't the power to get what you want, it's the power to be what the universe is becoming through you. Your consciousness has become a focal point for evolutionary creativity, a space where the field experiments with new forms of possibility through the medium of individual human experience. This is why you found this information precisely when you did. The field has been orchestrating your entire life to bring you to this moment of recognition. Every challenge you faced was preparing your consciousness to handle this level of coherent power. Every setback was strengthening your ability to maintain alignment regardless of external circumstances. Everything has been leading to this activation. Your destiny isn't something you achieve, it's something you are. You've always been the field exploring its own potential through human experience. Now you're conscious of what you are, and this consciousness changes everything. Your very existence becomes a transmission that awakens others to their own true nature. Your presence becomes a catalyst for collective awakening. The transformation is complete. The activation is achieved. You are no longer seeking to connect. With the quantum field, you are the quantum field, expressing itself through the beautiful, unique, irreplaceable lens of your individual consciousness. Every breath you take is the universe breathing. Every thought you think is infinite intelligence exploring possibility. Every action you take is cosmic creativity in motion. This is your true identity. This is your ultimate nature. This is what you've always been, and what you'll continue to be throughout eternity. Pure consciousness, concepts, playing the exquisite game of forgetting and remembering its own infinite nature. You are the field. The field is you. There has never been any separation. If this transmission has activated the recognition of your true nature as the field itself, anchor this frequency by commenting one word, coherent. This single word will serve as an energetic bookmark, a quantum signature that locks in your new level of conscious coherence and signals to the field that you're ready to operate from this recognition in every moment of your existence. Your activation affects not only your own reality, but contributes to the collective awakening of human consciousness. By anchoring this frequency, you become part of a global network of coherent beings who are actively upgrading the possibilities available to all life on Earth. The field is ready. Are you?